that you're ready for an afternoon of great presentations again. This is the second half of our ATD Houston Tech Conference, and we're so happy to have everybody here again. I'm Debbie Richards. I'm the past president of ATD Houston, and we're going to kick off our afternoon with Leanne McManus. She is the Chief Learning Officer of IQ Solutions. Now, I first heard Leanne's presentation at the ATD Technology Conference earlier this year, and I thought, wow, we really need to bring Leanne to our chapter because I don't know about you, but one of the banes of my existence is trying to track and manage training projects. And so I am hoping that you will enjoy her presentation and you'll get a lot out of it. She has been doing this for a long time. She's also a Microsoft certified trainer. So she knows all those secrets about Microsoft 365, and she's going to share some of those with you, as well as she also has a master's degree in HR and organizational development. She's got a great passion for Agile, and she works with her clients to engage, learn, adopt, and best leverage technology solutions. So let's give everybody, let's all give Leanne a warm welcome, and let's get down to learning how to create, track, and manage our training projects. Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you, Debbie. Welcome, everyone. So I love seeing we got some of the cameras on. That helps me see. So Mark and Corinne, thank you for that. We'll use the chat in Zoom some as well. So as we get started, I'm just going to go through a little bit about me and the deck and prep what we're going to do. But to kick this off, I just want you to know this is going to be very kind of interactive because I'm going to ask questions using a mentee tool, and then I'm going to have some of you be a volunteer for me to kick off one of our solutions. So this should be, grace, give me grace in case technology dies, because sometimes that happens. But yes, if you have questions along the way, you can put them in the chat, or are we using QA? Actually, Debbie, I didn't ask that beforehand. I'm okay with either. But if you have questions, just put them in there, and then they'll queue them up, and I'll go back and review them when we got time. So we only have 45 minutes. So without further ado, I just want to kick this off, and let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do today. So I am Leanne McManus. I have referred to myself as the fusion between people and technology because those two groups sometimes have a hard time figuring out how to work together. So I spend a lot of my time doing that. I've got a lot of depth in the HR industry as an SPHR. As she explained, Microsoft, I've been in the Microsoft world for several decades as well. And I am all about being a change agent and helping people move the ball a little bit. So focusing on user adoption or helping people do an agile transformation, whatever that is, I happen to love that. And so my heart and my normal being thinks in the agile way. So that's kind of how I approach things as well. All right, so let's dig into what we're going to do today. So I wanted to build this. It's only 45 minutes and we're going to get into some solutions, but I wanted you all to decide where we start. So in case we run out of time, we're going to start with what's most important to you. So you're going to pick your own journey here in a minute. And we're going to go through and talk about specifically, as an example, training program challenges that you have and things that I've seen across every industry and size of organization. So we'll kind of talk about that as we get in here. I'm going to ask you some questions. But here's some high-level common pain points. So in the Zoom chat, if you relate to any of these or have any comments, I want you to fill that feed with what you relate to here. So one that I found across every organization for the last 25 years is that there is typically a lack of automation. Sometimes it depends on where you work in the organization, whether or not you have rights or even know how to automate and make things more efficient. So if you find yourself taking multiple steps to get something done, or the handoff of the baton keeps happening, right? And you're like, whatever happened to that? It's lost in the ether. Those sort of things are problems that companies are running into, and then it's kind of painful for you. Collaboration, communication, we've been doing a lot of this. I think we've all been pushed into this bucket a bit more over the last 2 years, but there's still some transparency issues. And when I talk about transparency, I'm talking about Do I have rights to not just know what the decisions are? Am I in that conversation? But do I know where things are, and do I have visibility? Can I edit? Can I give feedback on these things? So sometimes you're left out of the loop, and usually it's unintentional. It's the way the systems have been built. All right. And then another common one is siloed solutions. A lot of times I work with a lot of companies who have many solutions. So they have, sometimes they institute something called cut the tail. They realize they've got 7,000 different applications and IT cannot manage those, right? So sometimes you have, it's just sprawl. And there's, people can go out and use, you're going to use, you know, some other tool besides Teams. Somebody else is going to use Teams. Somebody's going to use Google, and you got all this stuff going on. Where's the content and where's the truth? So siloed systems is that you have a lot of them, but also they're independent. They don't really integrate and talk to each other very well. So if anybody can relate to that, I'm seeing definitely we're getting some, definitely relate to lack of transparency and processes in the system. Yeah, merger and acquisition backwards. The legacy system thing is very painful. I can relate to that as well. All right, and then we got one more here that's a general, which is usually what people are really excited for in some of this, what we're going to cover today. But how do I manage all the things that are going on, track it, and track it with KPIs or track it with whatever's meaningful in a metric perspective to you and your group, and then how do you report it? And reporting it doesn't always mean going to a meeting and standing up and doing the boring PowerPoint. Reporting means people are in the live, in the know, and it's somewhere they can trust that's got integrated information. That's typically where I'm coming from. I want to not have to worry about it. I want to set it up and know that people that need to see it can see it, and it's accurate information. So we're going to kind of dive into lightly areas of these to give you some inspiration in how you might do this in your own work. And very good. So Julia, reporting is one of my main focal points this year. Very good. Okay, so really quick, let's go through, if you were to take a big picture of Microsoft 365, which this is even out of line because they don't call it O365 anymore. Everything changes with them. But just some general high level of the ways you might think about places you're going to deal with. Files, typically within Office 365, is going to be SharePoint. Usually SharePoint Online, you're not in on-premises anymore, and using your OneDrive for Business. So that's the mine versus our files, right? And then how might you track and manage data? There's some awesome apps for this. The traditional one is Excel that most people are still using, and I'm going to show you an example of pulling Excel into this in a quick example. But there's Forms. Microsoft Forms is one of the best ways to get data in that's live, that's current. You could use SurveyMonkey or something else like that, but Forms is something internal. And then Planner. Can you guys post in the chat if anybody has used Planner, and share with the room if you're using it, if you love it, or where you're at on that? It'd be fantastic. All right, I'm going to watch for that. The other areas we're going to look at is different ways to collaborate. So OneNote is my all-time, like I've been using that from, really it got good after 2010 version, and 2016 was fantastic. So it's coming back in the regular part of our Office suite, but I use it for everything, personal and business. And then Microsoft Teams, most of you, we'll find out here in a minute how well you know that the Teams environment, but it's an aggregate. It doesn't actually house anything. It just brings everything together so that you can go to one place and live there. Awesome. Okay, so I'm getting we tried it, but no one's embraced it. I'm going to give you, I don't have a time to do we should do a whole planner session because it's fantastic, but I'll show you some examples. And then there's this whole thing called the Power Platform. And Power Apps is building like an actual little, like mobile app for inside your organization using your stuff. I'm going to show you that with one click you could actually create something like that. But Power BI, which is how you do data visualization, you can also use Tableau inside Microsoft's world, but Power BI is their version. And then Power Automate is the thing behind the scenes that I really want y'all to see today. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to turn this into a mentee. We're going to get you asking and answering some questions. So let me bring this up. Now this is best if you use your mobile device. So you can either type in a browser, the mentee.com, or with your camera on your phone. Just take a picture of that or put the QR code up to your camera and it should take you to this site. And perfect, as soon as you're there, click the heart, and I see we've got 3 people in already. And we should see this go up. How many people are in our call? I can't see the number. I can't see.
We have about 30.
Oh, 34 I see at the top. Thank you very much.
Counting us,
okay,
the host.
This just like, I have 3 massive monitors and I still feel like I don't have enough monitors. So very good. All right, so we'll give you just another minute. And if you type in the mentee.com, it'll ask you for a code, and you'll just put in that 87429868. And we've got about half of you in here, so maybe we'll get to 20 and I'll advance. Oh, perfect. Look at that. Voila. So I'm going to advance. Now, you can still join. You're just going to see the mentee.com at top with the code to join after this. So here's the first question for you. You should see on your phone, it's asking you to say, do I consider myself an expert, which is on the right, or am I maybe little to no experience in each of these? So I'll give you a minute to kind of fill this out. And I'm going to hide we'll let it play, actually. We'll see how this shows up. So SharePoint, this is good. We're seeing some good use in some teams. And you'll notice that line right now is the average amongst the people in here that are answering. All right, we had about 20, so we'll wait till we get to about there, give everybody a chance to respond. And this is interesting, not really surprising. Zoom and Teams both have kind of had an all-in adoption, whether people wanted to or not, over COVID, right? So even if you say in Teams, that might just mean I know how to join a meeting, or do you use Teams in and out with how you work? That can vary because there's a lot of different things that Teams can do. And SharePoint, this is also fascinating. I think SharePoint Online is catching some speed now because people have had the on-premise environment for so long, but it was kind of an old infrastructure and some old tools and features. The online version, they've really tried to empower end users to use it. So it is easier. And just a little tidbit for all of you that are using Microsoft 365, SharePoint is the backbone of everything you do. So you'll see it's integrated everywhere, and it's literally, that's where all the files you're going to use in Teams primarily are. Everything that's integrated together uses SharePoint. OneNote, we've got some users, but those of you who don't use OneNote, you may want to look into it. It's your one-all catch-all for everything you do. It's fantastic. Okay, so Planner, a couple of you said before, hey, we looked at it, we didn't get it. The adoption wasn't there because you didn't understand what the purpose would be maybe. So maybe you'll see some of that today in what we look at. And then these 3 power apps. So we've got a lot of people who are like, I don't know it. And we've got about right here, we've got some who have a little bit. And that is exactly what I would expect. So these are newer. They seem a little scary to the typical end user, but I'm going to show you that they're integrated with stuff, particularly in SharePoint, to make it easy for you. Okay? All right. Now, I think you can do 2 little fields here. When you hear the word automate, just type a word and then a second word if you have another one that comes to mind. When you hear that word, what do you think of? Thank you, Lisa. Lisa said, not to bias everybody, but we'll see how everybody shows up here, and then we'll add a couple of these words we're getting. Very good. So we've got, in the chat, we've got seamless, fast, simple, connected, easier, faster, and we're getting consistently here too. We think we want to take some of the heavy lifting off of ourselves, right? It should be simple. It shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't take this long. I shouldn't be waiting. All of those things. Yes, the process, the computers is what you hear when you say automate. Yes, so we're going to use some software to do that. Very good. Mindless, nothing, sharing. So for me too, it's a trust thing. I want to set it up, know that it's working, and once I've proven that it's working, I want to feel confidence in that, right? So fantastic. So we can see here, fast is the biggest shared thought from all of you. So fast and efficiency. Very good. So if you were to say in your own company right now, whether it's a big organization or a small organization, would you say, if you think about what you're doing in your training program or other programs, do you have automation, or do you feel like you have a lot of manual steps, or it takes a really long time to do something? Yeah, so hopefully you're all feeling a little bit like, okay, we're all in the bucket together. A little bit here and there, and then some of you are going to say not really. And typically if I find people say, yeah, we're very efficient, it's usually it's something you could relate to. Like they might be in IT, or they've got some empowerment in what they're able to do, or they work in an organization that's pretty lean and kind of works that way. That's part of the culture. So if you're not, you can still make small changes and kind of improve how you're working. Okay, so the biggest bucket by far is definitely, we're doing little bits here and there. So this whole thing of what I'm going to share with you today is to inspire you. These are just a few examples. You can go in and test out these tools and build something around what you're doing. So let me see, remember these pain points we covered, right? We just talked about all of these. I want you to think about, from your own perspective, of those pain points, which of these would you rank highest to lowest? So the lack of automation, too many steps, we don't have transparency, or the collaboration and communication isn't good. Somebody's kind of hoarding over that. Too many systems, or we're disjointed and we have sprawl everywhere. The lack of automation, yes. We'll see how this shifts as everybody answers. And even as technology change has happened, if I had asked you this a year ago, your answers may have been different, right? So the speed at which we're changing to new technologies and changing our processes can have an effect on this. All right, well, that looks pretty solid with almost everybody in. So too many manual steps, we've got a lack of automation, and then the being able to report and track what I'm working on and share that with people. And they're all, if you picture these together, they kind of all weave. You could think of like a 4-part Venn diagram. They would all meet, right? They all interrelate and they have an effect on one another. So if we can start to fix, even from your little piece of your world and what you're doing, you can start to improve it. That can start to have an effect on the overall picture. All right. Awesome. So we're going to choose your own journey. What we're going to do, because I had to shorten this from what I did at ATD a little bit, we're going to focus on 3 solutions. If we have time to get through all 3, that's great. If we don't, then we're going to go with the order you all choose. However, I'm going to have Steph share in the chat. I've got 2 files for you. So one is a handout. It's like 20 some pages that I made that walks through all of the things we're going to do plus more. And then there's a version of my deck, just in case anybody wanted that. So she's going to, thank you, Stephanie. Awesome. So here's the last question for you. These are the 3 solutions we're going to look at today. And so if you wanted to see a different way to use a template, basically a type of a new scribe, it's a really cool tool. I think you'll like it, where we can see how we can set up a meeting, capture the stuff we need. We got our action items. Everybody knows what they're doing, and it goes to pre-populated areas. It's automated for us. It tracks our meetings for us. And then the let them kick it off is using an automation tool, that Power Automate. I'm going to have you guys do a form for me. It's going to kick it off, and it's going to do these other things. And then visualize it is looking at how we can use a SharePoint list, and we can update that, turn it into some visualizations, and see it as a team. All right, let's see where we end. Thank you, Steph, for loading those. So the one that says create, track, manage is the handout. That's the one that's going to have these solutions that we'll go through. All right, we got 10 of you in. Let's see if it shifts in this last little bit here. Looks like visualize it, and then a new type of scribe. All right. Oh, let's kick it off. Okay, it looks like we have a horse race going on between the 2nd and 3rd spot. So I'm gonna flip over, and we'll go with right now with the new type of scribe second, and then I think we'll get through all 3 of them. But before I do that, let me show you what this document looks like that you should see here. So it's just a PDF. And you can see it's got, it's like I wrote a book for you, kind of, to explain kind of what you might be doing. So you can look at these. If you come right here, here's the workshops. These are the first 3 we're talking about, but there's a couple of additional ones that you can look at as well, right? And then you can do much more beyond this. So make this your own, and then I'd love for you guys to share with Debbie and the crew, and it can get to me if you guys end up coming up with something creative on your own. All right. So let me switch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a real quick, get everybody acclimated into Office 365. So in Zoom, can you all do the emotions with the raise a hand if you are using Office 365 in your current work? Let me see how many people we're talking about.
And as a reminder, you can find that raise the hand icon in the reactions button at the bottom toolbar of Zoom.
Thank you, Steph. All right, we're starting to get some thumbs up and some hands, but it looks like so maybe a quarter or maybe a half. I'm not a good counter of how many I'm seeing here, but close to half of you. Okay, so for everybody else, this is gonna feel like you're drinking through a fire hose if you've never seen this before. It's not that different if you use the Google platform. In fact, they've got a very similar looking button right here. It's called the app launcher. Google has it, but it's on the other side, right? So it's like all of your apps in one, and everything based in here is based on how you're logged in. So you have your SSO credentials, and it authenticates and authorizes you to access what you have rights to. But generally, what we've got here, if I go to this Office tab here, you can see this is literally me in here. These are recent things I've got going on. I've got a meeting coming up, so take note of that meeting. We've got our home tab, and they kind of keep changing this, but you can see some of the apps you use a lot going down the side, and we can see some files and different things that we're doing. If I click on this app launcher again, all the apps that I've been using a lot are showing up here. They show up based on how you've used them. If you scroll down, you'll see all apps, and this turns into an alphabetical list. So number one, there's a lot of apps. You don't have to know them all, but we're going to highlight a few of them today. The big thing I want to show, a couple things. What you have if you're in Office 365 may be slightly different than mine because there's different licenses. Your organization may turn some things on or turn some things off. So they may not be exact, but the general ones like SharePoint and Teams and the Office products, everybody probably has those. The other thing is I click on these. We're going to go look at a list in a minute. Everything has its own landing page. So when you click on this, you're in lists. Or if I go to OneNote, I'm in OneNote, and it's kind of holistic across the organization in your Office 365. And I'll try and highlight that. But here's that Planner app. Here's all three of the Power platform apps here, right? So there's lots of them in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the visualize it first. So let me get back in here and get acclimated. So I am right now inside, in fact, I'm in what's called a SharePoint hub, where I've got, it's our training program management. And I've got other things that I can link to. I want to go look at this Power Skills site. I can go there, but I've got this thing here called a course scheduler. So this is just something that I built. And when I click on this, it doesn't tell me that I'm in a SharePoint list because I'm inside SharePoint where it's at. But if we typically want to go in and look at something like this, if I go back to my app launcher, I'm going to go to lists. So this is the landing page for Microsoft Lists. Everybody see that? So now I'm there. Here is that exact same list that we were just looking at. So I just have it where it's showing inside a SharePoint site. So what I want to show you here is that you can create a list for anything. So one of the simplest ways to track something is to come up with a list. So I've done forever using Excel, as many of you have. In fact, I've got this Excel doc right here that I need to bring this historic information in to my SharePoint list because I don't want to continue using Excel. I want everybody to see it. So we're going to use this course scheduler, but I want to show you lists really quick. If I click new list, it's so sexy and easy now. This used to be complicated in SharePoint. Now you can say, I want to use a template. I want to start from an existing list I had. I want to start from Excel, or I want to start clean. So these templates are fantastic. I use mine off of this one called Content Scheduler. And you can see when you start out, it gives you columns and it shows you with dummy data. But if I was going to track doing some blog posts, or we're going to track when we're doing our content schedule, whatever, you could start out with this and then you change it. If I say use this, you simply name it, give it a description, choose a color, choose your icon, and then this save to is kind of an important part. So if I keep it in my list, that's literally going to show just for me. If I go and put it in a site, like in Power Skills or TPM or these other ones, that's going to be owned and available to the whole team. Everybody has rights to see that. So where you create it matters sometimes. I don't want to recreate it right now because we're going to go in and look at one, but all I did was exactly that, and I made it part of my Power Skills team. So when I'm here, I have, it's very similar, course title. I updated some of the column names. So I've got a sponsor name with who is saying they need this training. This is basically training requests that are coming in. And then we've got the status. Is it requested, scheduled? Where's it at? If we were to look at this across the organization. And then has it been approved? When's it need approved by? The delivery date. And then we've got these other tags that we can use saying, well, should it be tied to something? Do I want to go back and say, what classes did we have that were built for business? What ones did we have that were technical? And all three of these would show up, right? So they're just like putting labels on these. And then I'm just in here as the approver name, and we can add some other filters or some other columns here. So if I show you, you can one by one just click new. I could come in and populate all these fields, including down here, you can get a URL for the class. We can put an image of maybe something about the class. We can put files in here, whatever you need to track, you build it into your column. Okay, so it's just columns in here. We can also use this edit view. So if I'm in this editing view, like I can click new item and I can just start typing across. So that's great, but I am lazy and I'd rather just pull it from the list that I already have. So I'm going to grab this bit of data. Now the important catch here is if you have an existing Excel sheet you're going to use, the columns need to be in the same order, right? The layout needs to be the same. So when you copy it and you put it into the list, it works. I'm literally just did a copy and I'm in, it's important you're in that grid view. I'm right here and I'm literally just going to hit Control V. Let me click it again. Ah, now I'm going to be crazy. It's not working. Hold on. Let me cancel. Don't save. I think I clicked weird. Let me try it again. I did it yesterday. There we go. It's where you click it and can't be in the cell exactly. But what's going to happen is you're going to see that these little things are going to fill up as well. They should, with the little bubbles that are showing. So now I've just added all of these to my list. I can say exit my view. Whoops, I need to save it. Something's going on. Oh, something it doesn't like on this one. Let me just, it doesn't like my date or something. I'm just going to randomly pick another date. Or I'm going to delete it because I don't want to worry about it right now. So let me just get rid of this guy. Oh, it's being a pain. Enter a date and time, like, okay. Let's go into May. So fancy, so easy. There we go. All right, so now I should be good. I can see down in the list, we got one other. It doesn't like my dates the way I had them in my Excel sheet, so lesson learned there. Let's see if it'll take it now. What's today's date? Today is the 27th. Let's just do that. So this is sort of thing, I guess I should have tested the little time from my Excel sheet because that's what it's giving me balking at. But we should be good to go. No more issues. There is still with this one. Sorry, everybody. Oh my goodness. I don't know what it didn't like my format. Oh my gosh. All right, let me just go pick some dates so we can I'll just assume they're all wrong. Shoot, I practiced this last night and no problems. But you'll actually notice when it resolves that, now it's resolving this whole thing here, which it wasn't doing before. So I'm gonna just clickety click. Okay, I think we'll be at the end here. Think we're good now. Okay, so sorry about that, but you see what happened? That was actually a good thing because these little fields under status didn't resolve until I fixed the other problem. But now I've got all this data, so we can come in here. This is a list. I can do whatever I need to. I can say I want to sort and filter by, group by, maybe we want to group by status, and I'm looking by approved. I'm looking by delivered. It's just a list. It's beautiful. It's simple. Takes no time. Okay. Now, what I really want to show you is how do we visualize this. If this is something you're using along the way, people can come to this list and they can look. We can export it to Excel in different ways. We can even build in an automation like send me a reminder when or have approvals on something I want to be notified. But this integrate section right here is what I want to show you. So Power Apps is where you can build an actual app that people could have on their phones, and they could fill this form out basically, and it would build it for you. We're going to look at Power Automate here in a minute so we can create a flow. But the Power BI one is the one that I want to show you. So if I say visualize the list, it opened up in its own tab called Power BI. And you'll notice it's giving me some kind of a little bit of some things to look at here. But I can always say, I'm going to edit this. And I want to change the look and feel of what I'm seeing here, right? So I'm just going to make some modifications, just a couple things. Let's see, that's not a good one. All right, some things that we want to see differently in here, and you get the idea. Now, what it's doing is it's using that live data directly from that list. So if I'm good to go, I'm going to say I'm going to publish this. You'll notice it says publish to the list. I'm going to name this, and we're going to call this quick summary of training courses. You name it. All right, it's been saved. If I close this and we're back on our course scheduler in our list, I'm just refreshing and I come back down to integrate. Oh, here's the one I just made. Here are two other reports that I had done that weren't showing up a minute ago. If I click on this, it opens it up and our Power BI report is built in there. So anybody that has access to this, I don't have to know a lot about Power BI at all, right? All I did, I know my data and I can go in and affect some of that. So if we want to compare with another one really quick, let's look at this detailed report. And this is same data, but we're looking at some different things in here. So you might say, I want to look at, what was the time between when they said they needed it to when it actually was delivered. Or you could have different reports that show that, and you're doing it all directly from the SharePoint list. All right? Yeah, thank you, John. I just saw that. That's how data works. I knew before you go into one of these things, that's what happens. So this is really cool. Any SharePoint list you have, you should see these tools right at the top where you can do it. You don't have to go to Power BI and pull it in and build a connection and do all of that. It's already part of the relationship between them. Now I'm going to show you also Power Automate. We haven't went into Power Automate, but I just want to give you a feel for what we just looked at real quick. And say, if I wanted to create a flow off of this, it gives me a bunch of templates. So you see here, we're in a SharePoint list, and it says this one, send a customized email when a new SharePoint. So if Corinne, you'll go in and you add a new item. If I have this set up, I'm going to get an email and know that you set up a new item. For me, that would drive me crazy. I don't want an email for everyone, but maybe there's an instance for that. Or you can start an approval process. You can request approval. So there's a lot more of these, okay? Yes, so to answer your question, David, yeah, it does. There's connections that have to get set up. They don't have to be Microsoft products. Smartsheets is usually part of everything I've seen with Power BI. There's so many different databases and different things you can use. So the short answer of that is yes. It just takes some time to set up the connections. Okay. Now, so we're feeling pretty good about this. I want to show you one other thing really quick. Let me move my Teams environment over here. So here's a different Power BI that I happen to have in this Power Skills team that is not related to that. It's a different data, but I wanted to show you that you could also show it inside Teams. So this is where my team is working. We're talking about reports, and we just build it here as a customized tab inside our channel, and this is live data that would be connected. So if I say, oh, I want to know, how did Alan do? Or what about Megan and Alan, right? And you can do multi-selects and do all this stuff, and the people are not touching your data. They're just manipulating and looking at the results here. So that's what Power BI is. That's a kind of an example of what that can do for you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next thing that we're going to do, and that is all around meetings and doing this, setting up a new scribe, okay? So really quick, if I go to my calendar, and this is literally my calendar that I'm using today to show you, we've got this meeting set up right here, prep for our Power Skills session. If I say edit, I want to show you something that I find unique in Teams really quick. So these are people that are coming, and then this is the time and all that good stuff. But you'll notice right here, it's already been set up, and it's happening in the Power Skills team in the meetings channel. And so this might be a regular thing that we're doing. And so we set this up, and now I just have some notes in here about what we're going to do. This thing I'm going to show you using this meeting capture tool. You're going to see that we can reference and see all of our meeting notes, and it's going to track some things in a planner board. So if I click on this, it's going to take me, it took me back into my Teams, took me to tracking, and it took me to this special page that says meeting capture. This was just a meeting that I did yesterday to put something out here. This is OneNote inside Teams. So if I click this little guy, we've got hold for ATD Houston. I've got another one that was called testing, and we've got an untitled one. So we're going to come back and look at this in a minute after I show you the meeting capture. Okay? So if I go back into my meetings channel, so let me pause for a second for everybody that's not using Teams. This is like Power Skills is a organized way that a group of us are going to work together on content, having meetings, doing different things. And these are all ways we're going to separate our work. This is only people that can see this stuff are people that are part of our team. So meaning if we were HR and we were doing this, it's only the HR people that are part of this team that can see this. But we don't have to send email back and forth. It's all here. Okay. So in this meeting channels, this slice of where we say we're going to organize, I've got this thing set up here called a meeting capture. And I'll show you behind the scenes here in a second, but this is built from a Power App. It's got some Power Automate behind it. I didn't build it. That's the beauty. You do have to say allow the camera, even though I'm using my camera. It's just part of what you have to do. And now it's fully synced with my calendar. And so it sees these meetings I've got. This is the meeting we want to talk about, this prep for the Power Skills that we just looked at. If I click that, I'm going to say start the meeting. It says, okay, once you've captured everything, remember to finish and save. So I'm going to, before I click on anything else here, I want to highlight, we would be having our teams like talking like we are in Zoom, right? We would be having a virtual talk, meeting like this, or maybe even meeting in person in the room. But we're going to use this tool to capture everything that we're doing. So this part that says notes is everything we're doing, I can't type, we're doing in our meeting will be captured. Jeez. Ah, okay. You get the idea. Notes all over. Okay. And so this stuff, that thing I just showed you where we saw the meeting I did last night, we're going to see this here. Then this is the planner plugin part. So out of this meeting, I need Doris to contact the, let's say EVPs for follow-up. Right? So we want action items. I don't want to rely on Doris to remember it. I want transparency across the team where everybody knows what we said. So I'm going to assign this task to Doris. When's it due? Doris, I'm going to give you, you've got till next Wednesday. All right, we need something back. Now, what's another one? Angela. I just like to write the name so they visually see it too. Follow up with vendor. Okay, click, you get the idea. I'm going to assign this to Angela, and I need this much quicker. Let's just say this is, you only have till Monday. Okay, we got a couple tasks. We've had our meeting. We could be taking pictures. We could be whiteboarding, doing all sorts of things. But we're done. We can also add files here. I'm going to say we're going to finish and save. Here is the enchilada part you need to know. This is the inside, the under the hood. To use this tool, you need to have, it uses Power Automate, so that needs to be turned on in your organization. And I'll show you how you go and see it inside your channel. But, so that has to be at the higher level done. You need to know what OneNote you're going to capture those notes in that are consistent, right? You want to be persistent with that. And then what planner board. So a planner board, we haven't seen it yet, but a planner board is basically, if you picture columns, like it's based off of a Kanban board, if anybody's familiar with that, of tracking visually where your work is. So the team can see where these things are at. So we want to see that. So I'm going to say yes, connect it with OneNote. And it's in our Power Skills. Power Skills is the team that we're in. And it's already set in my meeting tracking. That's where I showed you. Yep, I want that. And my planner board, I've got lots of planner boards in here. So the one that I'm going to do it, let me make sure I choose the right one. I think I'm doing one down here called Project Manager. And then in those columns have names. I don't want it incompleted. I wanted it either in like, it's in my backlog, we need to do it, or it's current tasks. I'm going to say backlog. So when we go and look out there as a team, we know that it has not yet been done. Okay? And then they'll send an email to everybody. I'm going to disable this just so I don't get the email, but you could, if you see this, it's all the people that are in the meeting, and you can email more people that are not in the meeting to be part of that. Okay? And then I'm going to say export. Are you finished taking notes? Yes. Okay. It's doing all this stuff behind the scenes. I'll go show you. Before I do it, I want to show you, it says now schedule a follow-up meeting. All right, with these same people, yes. Do you want to find available times? Yes, I do. And I want to look tomorrow or today, whatever. Let's say tomorrow. Okay. And look at this and find available times, and it gives you and it shows you who is available and who's not. So this is using that find times thing inside this little feature, which is fantastic. All right, so I'm good. I don't really want this anymore. And there's no cancel now, so that's fine. I'm just gonna pick one. We'll send an invite. Okay, so that's the whole taking it through the life cycle. You can also set up for another meeting that's not this one and get ready to use that. So it's just inside this private tab. If I click post and come back over, it's ready to start using again. Okay, so what did it do? It did some magic behind the scenes. So it came in and that meeting tracking, remember we looked at this OneNote right before. If I open my notebook, here is the meeting we just did. The prep for, here's the content I wrote, notes all over, and then here are the 2 tasks that are here. If I forget where these are at, I can click on these and they take me to the task. So they take you out to that planner app, and I need to find it's in Project Manager, and here they are. Angela needs to follow up with vendors. Doris needs to contact the EVPs, and the due dates are here. So this is a planner board, and planner boards can be totally set up differently depending on what you're doing. This one has these columns. So here's some current tasks, here's some follow-up, here's one that's in the completed and just needs verified. So I can say, okay, Angela, you're doing it, and I think this is, attendee follow-up. I'm just going to pick a couple of these that we've got. Let's say this is a VIP thing, and I want to say this is kind of urgent now. There's an issue, and I can make a list just to show you. Okay? Now if we look at that, here's what we see on that card. And they're just little GUIs, so we can move them all over the place. So she's currently working on this, and I want that at the top. So this is a planner board. Does that kind of help you understand that a little bit? Pretty cool? Okay. Let me go back into Teams, and I want to show you that in our, this is the problem, I forget where I put some of the stuff. In my planning channel here, I've got that exact planner board right here. So I didn't have to leave and go out to planner. I could stay inside Teams that whole time and do it. Okay? And then what's cool is that there are other things actually that you can do when you're looking at these. So there's analytics, there's visualizing it here directly built into the planner thing itself, including a schedule and a list view. So there's all kinds of cool things you can do here with planner. Now, where are we at? Ooh, we're getting close on time. Let me see if I can help do this Power Automate one, because this one's really pretty cool. Let me give you all this form. I just need a couple volunteers really quick. Of course, I forget where I put it. Here it is. No, that's not it. General. Hold on, I gotta read my notes where I put my link. I hid it from myself. Power skills, yes. Got too fancy. I think it's up here. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I want to give this link inside the Zoom chat. And at least like just a few people. I don't need everybody to do it, but if you want to do it, great. I don't know how it'll do if we have 30 people that respond, but if you click that bit.ly link, I'm going to show you, if I open it up, and get it to open for myself. Bummer. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go here and I'm going to paste the same link so you can see the form they're going to fill out. So this is a form I built inside. Just, you can make up a name, use your own name, do a date. It's got 7 questions. Pretend you're from one of these lines of business. What kind of session are you requesting? And about what month do you need it? What's the latest it can be delivered? And about how many people are coming? And then just check off if you would want it internal, external, whatever, submit. Okay? Now, as they're filling those out, I'm going to come back in. Very cool, Robert. This is fantastic. And I want to go, actually, I'm going to come back into Teams. Now, what is going to happen is we're going to see some of these things show up. These are ones that I tested. You can see Monday. And if I come down here, is this one that just came in? It looks like it. So JMS and AR has had a request for Agile to occur around July. Please follow up in 24 hours. What? Okay, so that, for me on the team, I'm like, okay, I got this one. Now I'm going to go back into, oh my gosh, I have too many things. I forget where I put it. Here in the tracking app. And I've got that course scheduler we looked at. We've got a course scheduler app. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm sorry. Am I losing my eyeballs? Where are my planner boards? Oh, there. Let me go to planner. That'll be quicker and easier because I can't remember my brain. We were just in this project manager thing. So I'm going to come back into planner. And I want to go to a different plan board. So if I'm going to click planner, and I'm looking for this course tracker one. So I'm going to click on this course tracker. Are these ones that you all just filled out? Susie from accounting has requested this. JMS that we just read this one in Teams has requested this. So this is a different board that our team uses. And this is where we're going to push out and get ready to create some classes. So if I say, okay, David's ready to go, that one's been approved, move it in, and now I just need to assign it. All right, this one is, and it's an onboarding thing, and I need Angela to work on that one. You build this out. Somebody else kicked off the whole thing. We didn't have to have a meeting and say what kind of thing and interview them and do that. You have a form that satisfies what you need. It gets the conversation going. Now Angela's going to follow up with these people, these internal customers, and say, hey, so we need a little bit more information. Internal, external, who you want as a trainer, whatever that might be. So this planner board is a way that we're tracking our work on that. What happened behind the scenes, let me show you. So if I go to Power Automate, which this is the one I said, these seem a little scary, but they're really not. They've built them in. So I want to show you first here my flows. These are ones that I built, and then I'm going to show you templates. So my flows are for myself, which ones have been built. This is the one that we did. You guys kicked it off because you submitted a form. It created a planner task, and then it added that little post inside our Teams channel. And here's what happens. So you can see that it runs. You can see what it's using. If I say edit, I set this up, and I used a template. So I'll show you what I did. But literally, so you need to know you need to have your form created before you can do this. And you need to know where in Teams it's going to go, and you need to have your planner ready. Okay? So really quick, it was a request a session form that a few of you filled out. And then it says, okay, in planner, what plan do you want to use? What fields do you want to use from your form? And what other sort, like for dates, do you want to use those here? Very simple. You built the form. You fill out what you want it to say. This is what showed up in the task. So it said so-and-so from this line of business has requested this type of training. And then the last thing it does is it says, okay, we're going to use this Flowbot, and we're going to put it in the Power Skills team, and we're going to put it in the planning channel. And then this is just a literal thing as well, saying, what do I want it to say? If you think about how we would always have templated Outlook messages, do you guys know what I mean? Like I used to have templates and they would go out and it would say the same thing, but I might change a date, or think about it like that. It's you saying, instead of writing this 100 times or communicating this 100 times, you have it built out, they fill it out, and the thing goes. Okay? So now let me show you how I did it, because you can go do this right after we're done. I'm going to leave. I don't want to cancel anything there. The templates, there is a plethora of, I could scroll forever and see the templates. Here's what we would know to get started. We know we're going to kick it off with a form, right? So if I type in form, I have so many different ones that I can do, but this one right here is the one I did. So you say, okay, I want to create, this is what I want to do. I want to have a form that's then going to create a task in Planner and then post a message in Teams. You connect your stuff. You go say, what is the form? I have all kinds of forms in here. What is the form? This has to have the same form name on both of these. And then what's your planner board? What's that called, and where do you want it? And what do you want it to say in your team and what channel? Woof! Does that make sense to everyone? Remember, you have it in your handout, all these instructions plus more. There's a lot more stuff you can go do. But this Power Automate, I think, is golden. And people just need to go play with it a little bit using the templates to build some confidence. It can get more complicated with a bunch of connectors and doing all this stuff. You don't need to start super advanced. Just start with the tester or with the templates. And then there's a test as you build it to verify it's working. So I don't want to keep that. That's okay. All right. So is there anything else to follow up with on that? Yes. So I'd love to just highlight Planner a little bit for all of you if we had just a minute or two, because this one, if you are tracking and you're using some old kind of like legacy system or some Excel sheet, it's not as dynamic, right? This is very dynamic, and it's all about who has access to this team. So you control who sees it, you control where it goes, and because it's built, because this course tracker that I'm working in, my planner board, is part of Power Skills. Did you see that? Let me move this over. Oh, I guess it's kind of hard to see here. You can't see that here, but it is. It is part of my Power Skills. I guess you can tell because of this. When I build the team, in fact, I can do a brand new one. Let's do one in a totally different team just to show you. So I've got this culture right fit outside of work, and I want to go create a brand new planner board. I'm going to click the plus. And this is where I did all the magic, whether I brought in Power BI or I brought in the Power App for that meeting capture, or you bring in a website. This app looks a little bit different for Planner. It says they've combined the to-do, like with the syncs with Outlook, and Planner. It's just one big app, but you'll say task by Planner and to-do. If I want to create a brand new one, I'll just give it a name here. If I want to see if there's existing ones, I do have some existing ones. So I could bring in this headhunting one that's already built. I don't remember what's on it, so we'll take a look. I'll say save. And it's going to customize this tab inside this channel. So this is all of my recruiting that I've got going on. And this is what our team is using to go through. You can kind of see like, okay, this one, the bench, oh, this one's been approved, this one's in the process now, and we're good on the HR, whatever. You can check it off along the way and you get these going. All right. Oh, I may have missed a few things. I think we covered all 3 of those. Does anybody want to come off of mute? Are we allowed to do that, Debbie? Can they come off and ask questions? Or Steph?
We definitely have the functionality to have everyone get off mute. If you have a question, you can simply raise your hand. But I also know we are a little bit over time, so it's up to Deb.
Oh, okay. We are. We're 4 minutes over. Oof.